Thanks for joining me. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you just tell everyone about yourself?
Hi, my name is Rohit Malhotra, and I'm based out of Delhi, India. Uh,
And are you living there at the moment?
yes, I'm living here in Delhi. I work in a startup here in Delhi.
And what are your plans now that you're after getting the scores that you need?
Yeah, my plan would be to apply for permanent residency in Canada, and with the kind of scores, I think it should be easier for me to go to Canada.
And what's your plan once you get to Canada? What are you going to do there?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of friends who've already gone there, so maybe the plan would be to network first, and then later on look at job opportunities over there. I've got a couple of friends who are doing a few online businesses, so it would be good to start off with the job and then do a side hustle and see if I could build a career or get into a business with it.
And what is your job?
I actually I work into business development and sales, and so I sell digital products. That's what my job is.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you tell everyone about your IELTS journey? So from when you started way back up until now.
Yeah, I had given IELTS last year, yeah, and I didn't get the kind of scores. I didn't take it too seriously, so I thought, this year I applied in February, and and the kind of scores that I got were pretty decent, but my writing scores were very very low. That was around 6 was my score, and I was looking into some YouTube videos, and there was an Indian couple who gone to Canada, and they talked about the IELTS Advantage writing course. In fact, before going for the test, I had taken a couple of essays where I didn't get great scores. In fact, I got the scores like 6.5, but I thought I'll score much better during the D day, but that didn't happen. So that's why I took the IELTS Advantage course, where I focused on writing, and I did a couple of tests, and I focused for a month, or in fact for 2 months, on my writing skills. I thought I was a pretty good writer because I have a blog, and you always have to write in English when you got to communicate with your colleagues, but somehow that didn't happen. But when I took the course and I applied what Chris taught, my scores were around 7. So yeah.
And before you joined IELTS Advantage, how many times had you done the test?
I done it once, but when I got the result, I wasn't too sure. If I have aced the exam, I was ready to do it again. So
Sure. And did you before, what scores were you getting in the other parts of the test? So you said you were struggling with writing, but for speaking, listening, and reading, was that also a problem, or were you getting the scores you needed with that?
With speaking, it was always 7.58. With reading, that was again 7.5. But I was getting the same score for the listening test. But I wanted a score like 8,777. That's like the golden score,
That's right.
and yeah, that's what I got in my second test. But what I figured out from looking into Quora and YouTube is, if your writing is 6.5, it takes a couple of months of practice to get to the 7 and above score. So that's what I focused on. I focused entirely on my writing because that was my week. I was pretty surprised to know I got such low scores.
Mm. And I think what happens with a lot of people is they'll have the English skills, but not the exam skills.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was the situation with yourself for sure. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And then how did you overcome those struggles? What like what path did you take, and what did you do to overcome the
Yeah.
those things that were holding you back?
Yeah, so I think the first time I took the test, I'm sure I must have for a 250 word essay, I must have written more than 300 words or so, and I wasn't very careful about how many paragraphs are you supposed to write, and whatever conclusions and introduction. I wasn't even I thought I'd given great examples, but that was not how I did. So when I practiced with the test given by IELTS Advantage, so I made sure the introductions, the paragraphs are done in a better way. Conclusions, it's not entirely copied from the sentence given, but with the right sort of examples. And I also made made sure that I written not more than 260 to 270 words. I was very careful about my writing.
So those were like the things that you were able to improve. But what did you go through, like from day to day and from week to week? What was your pattern of preparation and study?
Okay, got it. Yeah, so I used to make sure that I spend at least 2 hours in a day, and since I have an hour-long journey, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, so that took care of my listening exercise. And but in the evening, I used to come back and make sure that I go through the entire course. I created an Excel sheet which I used to look quite often about, if this is the type of question I get, what sort of an answer I used to give. And every second or third day, I would try some of these questions. I think in the course you're allowed to you can give five tests, which is free of cost. I think I took up all these 5 tests, and so the mornings I would spend on reading because I was fresh. And during office hours, spending an hour, 2 hours, listening to podcasts, or so listening was taken care of, and writing is what I used to practice in the evening. A couple of days before my speaking test, I had a bit of a dialogue with my wife, and I I jotted down on my Google Keep on what sort of things people you're supposed to say and all. But speaking was never a problem. It's just the other 3 things. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right sort of.
But clearly you work very hard, and that's interesting to hear that you were able to recognize like what time of day you're most productive and using this, like focusing on the area that needed more attention when you were productive. And I know like a lot of students that we speak to, they really struggle to find time throughout their day to put into their preparation. And did you find, was that something that was difficult for you to organize? Where can I work and how can I find time, and trying to fit it in? Because if you're unemployed, you'd say, okay, I have all day every day, but in your situation you really had to work hard just to even find the time before you worked hard.
Correct. Yeah, so what I figured out is I need to create processes, because I think it's easy to come up with excuses that you have a job. In fact, everybody has a job, if you're above 20, 24, 25 years of age. And everybody would have a 1 hour journey to the office. I wanted to, since my listening was never weak, and so was not my speaking, I had to focus a lot on my reading and writing. So reading is what the process I've made is that since I'm fresh in the morning, I focus on my reading, and it took me a while, at least a month and a half, to reach the kind of score. So before my first test, I did not keep an Excel sheet to look at what kind of scores I am doing. I was thinking I've taken 40 minutes and most of my answers are right, but the Excel sheet really changed my life, because then I started measuring. It's like how you trying to lose weight, you got to use an Excel sheet, and when you want to increase your wealth, you got to see what is your net worth. So that is the same process I use for IELTS. If you're not measuring what you're doing, then you don't know what you're throwing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I was doing. I was taking an Excel sheet. I used to get the scores, and if the scores aren't right, then I know that I'm not up to the mark, and I didn't book my IELTS test. so so I just wanted to be sure that I had the right kind of scores, because it becomes really bothersome to take these tests all the time. So
And then on the spreadsheet that you're using, did you find that your scores were constantly improving as time went
yeah.
along, or were they kind of taking improving and down a bit and then up a bit and down a bit, or was it a steady increase from start to finish?
It was a steady increase, but if I'm sleeping too late and waking up early, I would say that my reading skills aren't good. Or if I had come really late, uh, I would find that I'm not really good in my writing skills. So what I figured out is I'll take these 2 months where I'll not do anything. I'll cut down on my social interactions with friends and all that, and focus on this so that my writing and reading improves, uh, and listening also, because I couldn't just focus on the podcast. I had to focus on getting the right answers. I you may think you listening correctly. So it was on Saturdays and Sundays where I would start with reading, but then I would shift to listening and try to cover up.
And there are definitely sacrifices on the way. Your social life had to take a hit for the sake of your IELTS preparation, but obviously
Yes.
it's worth it now.
Yeah.
Were there ever times along the way that you felt you were going to give up, or you felt like you had enough and you were going to pack it in?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the first time you do, so it does dent your confidence, because you're working in a corporate sector for such a long time, and you feel that you studied English, you read books, you listen to English movies or podcasts, or so you think that you will get the right sort of numbers. And in fact, so many of my friends, they don't get the results the first time. They feel so dejected that they leave it. In fact, that's a mistake I've done in 2018, I think. Yeah. And in fact, yeah, to be honest, I've got a couple of friends who may be a little elder to me, but they in fact, there's a couple who made those videos who referred about IELTS Advantage. So they took the test 4 times, and it's the fourth attempt in 8 months that they cracked it. And then they talk about how they left the jobs, and they applied for jobs from India, and they got their jobs before. So it's a very interesting process. But when I got my scores, even if I had not got my the same numbers, I would have followed the same path, which is just keep going till you don't get the number. I was very surprised I got the golden score in my second attempt. But I like the process whereby you don't stop. Uh, you know till you don't get the result, because it's
Um,
easy to get very disappointing and dejected.
but that really is the attitude of someone who's going to succeed. Like
Yeah.
to have your eye on the target and just to stay focused and put in the time and realize that it's up to you, and if you're willing to do it, you will get there. But yeah, that's
Correct.
that's very very much the attitude of successful students, definitely.
Right. Yeah.
Would you say for like anybody, let's say any other students who were in the situation before you, like you, before you got your scores, like would you have any advice to students who are perhaps thinking of giving up, or they feel that they won't be able to do it, or starting to feel frustrated with the whole process?
Yeah, Michael, what I've seen is a lot of people feel that they put in a lot of efforts, but if you measure your efforts, you'll find that that in a week you would have put in an hour here and half an hour there, and because of a very jam-packed schedule, you think that you've put in a lot of effort. But what I would tell people is to measure your efforts. It's about a lot of practice. And with practice, you have to learn where you went wrong, and then you got to improve from there. So measuring your performance, and what you can't measure, you can't generate. So it's important to measure, and at least spend 2 hours a day, if you're a working professional, for at least 2 or 3 months and then give your exam. I think you should get the right kind of scores.
Brilliant. Well, Rohit, thanks a million for joining us. That's great story, and congratulations again. Finally got the scores, and it's all paid off. All the hard work. Brilliant. Well,
Yeah, thank you very much. I
thanks a
think
million.
all thanks to IELTS Advantage, I had that opportunity and took that risk of spending couple of money and spending time, and it really worked out for me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. But thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing your story. Thanks a
Thank you.
million. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Best of luck in the future now. Bye bye. Thanks, Rohit.